Welcome back to Rasmafsar TV. Today I'm going to talk about a very important topic. It's about the armory and castle Wartburg in Eisenach in Germany. So in German we call it Rüstsaal der Wartburg bei Eisenach. First of all, for all these pictures, I would like to thank my daughter Nilofar, who visited that on a school trip and provided me with this information. Few people know about Wartburg Armory or Rüstsaal der Wartburg, which is located in this castle in Eisenach. So the history is from 1867 to 1946, the Wartburg Armory housed an invaluable collection of weapons and armor sets from the 12th to 19th centuries. I repeat, from the 12th to 19th centuries. The emphasis of the collection, meaning most of them were from the 16th century. This important collection consisted of 850, I repeat, 850 historical works of art. But unfortunately, after the Second World War, all of them were confiscated and taken by the Red Army on February the 8th, 1946. They were taken to the Soviet Union. And ever since, all these pieces of armor have been lost, or at least considered lost. Today, as you see, very selected items of pieces of armory which were possibly hidden or added later to this castle are an exhibition. Most of them are original, and there is a sword and a shield which is an exact reproduction, but most of them I show here are originals which were added to this castle. But as I mentioned, most of them were taken away by the Red Army. The pretext was, of course, as we all know, demilitarization. But we all know, what does it mean, demilitarization in 1946? It reminds me what American troops did to Japanese katana, wakizashi, and tanto, and pole arms like yari and naginata. And they also took them as booty and brought them to the United States only after years and years of work. Some of them could be repatriated to Japan. And unfortunately, as far as I know, the German government has been trying repeatedly to locate these pieces of armor and ask the Russians and Russian governments to repatriate them back to Germany, but so far to no avail. And I believe possibly because most of them, we don't even know where they are, as we also, many Japanese katana and wakizashi were taken by American troops, private people even. So this is the sad story which happens after each war. Since the Middle Ages, various rooms at Wartburg Castle near Eisenach had been used to store and safeguard the weapons and armor needed to defend the castle in the event of a siege, as well as to arm the knights and servants serving at the castle. Here you see one of the few pictures which is available of that armory, which is not lost. You don't see it if you go to the castle now. The third group included the weapons and armor acquired for tournament fighting. So we have pieces for warfare, battlefield, and also for tournament fighting, as well as a collection of war trophies owned by the Thuringian landgraves. So we have also war trophies and booties we had in Germany. We don't have them anymore. On that fateful day in February, this collection of arms and armor of European rank, reportedly the 5th largest collection of arms and armor in the world. I repeat, the 5th largest collection of arms and armor in the world was taken as booty, let's call it plundered, in a matter of hours. The castle was thus demilitarized, and drawing a short chronological balance of the fate of the arms and armor collection is therefore important and necessary. With the rapid changes in warfare and military technology following the introduction of firearms, armories were supplemented with special rooms for the storage of gunpowder and shells. A result was that the southern tower of the castle became known as the Powder Tower. In the early 16th century, the growing threat of the Ottoman Turks led to the reorganization of national defense in the Electorate of Saxony. Land defenses were built, the city fortifications and important castles were extensively modernized. The bailiff's horse stable, located in the cellar room of the castle bailiwick, was rebuilt under the supervision of master builder Nickel Grohmann as a provisional armory, subsequently referred to as the armory. There is another picture of this important collection, as you can see it here, old picture. An inventory of weapons made in 1552, when the building was handed over, lists, among other things, stocks of fireballs, cannonballs, pitch wreaths, spits and with iron, helmets, and they were also added. Additionally, there were still 30 stalls for horses in the castle. The military crew of Wartburg Castle had to make sure that the weapons and equipment were always kept ready for warfare and use, and for defense purposes. Matthias Stutzer from the Gotha fortress of Griemenstein was assigned to Wartburg Castle in 1566 as Büchsenmeister and Torwart. Büchsenmeister means a specialist for firearms. He was the first official administrator of the military stocks at the castle and was ordinate to the castle bailiff. During the Renaissance period, extensive collections of magnificent weapons were created at the European princely courts. These valuable objects were also collected in large numbers in the Weimar Ducal House. In 1801, Duke Karl August of Saxony-Weimar Eisenach, 1757 to 1828, ordered the armor for both man and horse to be brought to Wartburg Castle from the dissolved armory in Weimar. A list from 1824 includes falconets, flags and standards, cannons, rifles with old German barrels and matchlocks, knight's armor, horse armor, swords, powder horns, and etc. many other types of arms and armor. From 1838, parts of the collection were exhibited in the Landgrafenzimmer and Sengersaal. In 1841, Bernhard von Arnswald became the commander of the Wartburg and set himself the life task of repairing and preserving valuable weapons. In addition, during the construction of the new Dirnitz by Hugo von Rittgen, he ensured that a representative hall was created with high windows, wood paneling, a gallery, and hearing to house the magnificent Grand Ducal weapons collection. Here we see in German and also in English what this museum writes: Rüstsammlung, die Rüstsammlung, the collection of arms and armor. For respect for German language, I read it in German first, and I go to English. Nach Auflösung des Weimarer Zeughauses 1801 verfügte die Wartburg über eine erlesene Sammlung wettinischer Prunkrüstungen, Schilde, Hieb- und Stichwaffen vom 15. bis 18. Jahrhundert. Zunächst in verschiedenen Räumen des Palastes aufgestellt, erhielten sie 1867 ihren Platz im neugotischen Rüstsaal der soeben vollendeten Dirnitz. Nach dem Zweiten Weltkrieg wurde die Waffensammlung der Wartburg von der sowjetischen Militäradministration beschlagnahmt, und als Beutekunst in die Sowjetunion verbracht. Nur wenige Stücke blieben der Wartburg-Sammlung erhalten. Wenige Stücke. I'm going to read it now in English. Upon the dissolution of the Weimar Armory in 1801, now I from German to English, I read it again. Upon the dissolution of the Weimar Armory in 1801, Wartburg Castle had an exquisite collection of 15th to 18th century Wettin parade armors, shields, and cutting and thrusting weapons. Initially displayed in various rooms of the palace, they were placed in the Gothic Revival Hall of Arms and Armor of the just completed Dirnitz Lesser Hall in 1867. Wartburg's castle collection of arms and armor was confiscated by the Soviet military administration after World War II and taken to the Soviet Union as looted art. Only a few items remained in Wartburg Castle's collection. So you see, only a few items remain, and I'm going to show the remaining items. The remaining items, remember, from 850 historical works of art, arms, and armor which were looted, only few remains, which is said also by the museum, confirmed by the museum, and I'm going to show them to you. Let me just go to the history a bit more to look at the beautiful inside of this castle. From 1838, parts of the collection were exhibited in the Landgrafenzimmer and Sengersaal. In 1841, Bernhard von Arnswald became the commander of the Wartburg and set himself the life task of repairing and preserving valuable weapons. In addition, during the construction of the new Dirnitz by Hugo von Rittgen, he ensured that a representative hall was created, with high windows, wood paneling, a gallery, and heating to house magnificent Grand Ducal weapons collection. In 1867, this hall was inaugurated. Hermann von Arnswald, a brother of Bernhard, continued his work as the subsequent commander of the Wartburg. He was followed in 1894 by Hans Lucas von Kranach, who scientifically processed and photographically documented the weapons collection. His pictures were the basis of Alphonse Dine Schoenberg's standard work, Die Waffen der Wartburg, The Weapons of Wartburg, published in 1912. So you should get hold of it. The ceremonial armor, horse armor, tournament armor, field armor, helmets, shields, rifles, and crossbows dated from the 12th century, with emphasis on the 16th century, up to the cuirass and helmet of the Grand Duke Karl Alexander in the 19th century. Also part of the together 70 armors could be assigned to historical bearers like Elector Friedrich the Wise, Friedrich the Magnanimous, and other Wettiners. So you see the importance of it. These are almost exclusively German pieces. What it means, some of which came from famous workshops in Nuremberg, Augsburg, and Saxony. Even in the 1920s, the collection of the armory was supplemented by traditional flags of German regiments. Hans Matschke, the then director of the Wartburg Foundation, wrote in 1990 about the Wartburg Armory. On February the 8th, 1946, these works of art were removed from their place and taken out of the country. On the part of the Wartburg Foundation, there have been repeated attempts in the past, up to now, to find out the present locations of the armory collection. Thus, it is only now, according to the then director in 1990, that it is possible to enter the world public with our request to search for the Wartburg's armor collection with all means at our disposal. The goal is one day, he adds, to be able to present the armor collection to the guests of the Wartburg in its ancestral place and in its old splendor. According to the state of affairs, the Trophy Commission of the Red Army confiscated the valuable weapons collection as looted art, as I mentioned it before, and took it to the Soviet Union. Today, the former Ducal Armory at Wartburg Castle is largely forgotten and is hardly mentioned, even in publications about Wartburg Castle. Castle is still there, very beautiful, but unfortunately the pieces of arms and armor are being forgotten. And remember, I just come back here to this important before I go. Remember, again, only a few items remained in Wartburg Castle's collection, and I'm going to show them to you. Look at the beauty of this castle here. This is few items which are still there, which remain in the collection from these beautiful pieces from 850. This is item number 1, which is still there. And this is a parade armor from 1600, made of steel, iron. It's repoussé, it's gilded partly, and also silver decorations on it, as you can see it here. Look at the beautiful art. We see similar items in French and English and American museums. I've seen them similar style. Another one which is in the Wartburg collection today, from those remaining ones, is a princely armor made by Anton Pfeffenhauser, Augsburg, around 1600. It's etched, made of steel and partly iron. This is a helmet Wolfgang or Franz Großschädel, Landshut, around 1560, made of steel, partly iron. It's etched and gilded. Look at the beautiful helmet. Another one, it's a backplate made by Wolfgang or Franz Großschädel, Landshut, around 1560, made of steel, etched and gilded. This is a round shield from Augsburg, second half of the 16th century, made of steel, etched and gilded. This is a flank mace, a parade flank mace, possibly from Saxony, first quarter of the 16th century, made of silver, gilded, turquoise, wooden handle, and snake skin. This is a flank mace, this is a fighting mace, second half of the 16th century, steel, iron, and silver decoration on it. Beautiful. And this is the statue of St. George fighting a dragon, also in Wartburg. Look at the beautiful armor made for St. George here, and the statue fighting a dragon with a spear, and from 1480 in London. And here, what is very beautiful, hunting truce of Elector Friedrich the Wise of Saxony, first quarter of the 16th century, steel, iron, silver, handle made of staghorn, leather. Look at the beautiful item, different parts of it. Really nice. And this one is not original. It's an exact copy of the shield of Conrad of Thuringia, 1206, 1207 to 1240, Grand Master of Teutonic Order. It's a copy. The original is in the Universitätsmuseum für Kunst und Kulturgeschichte in Marburg. Remember, I was in Marburg and I've shown many shields there on this channel. This is this shield, which is the copy of it, exact copy. And another copy is the sword, as you can see it here, is Sword of Conrad of Thuringia, 1206 to 1207 to 1240, Grand Master of Teutonic Order is a copy, and the original is kept in the Deutsches Historisches Museum in Berlin. And this was the 5th largest and most important collection of arms and armor. This is in the world, and this is very, very important to take into consideration why it is very important. I mean, the 5th largest, I'm sure, means European arms and armor, of course. At the end of my presentation on Wartburg Castle, I'm going to just show you some pictures, and then please subscribe to my channel. And support my work, and thank you very much for your attention.